Okay, here we go. We got Mr. Phil on the line. What's up, everybody? We finally got him to have a visual on the camera. I'm so happy to be able to introduce you finally to Mr. Phil DeLuca. He is a licensed clinical social worker, and he has a very interesting premise that we can do better in our relationships by not talking, not quite so much as we're used to being told that we should, and that would be a better way to communicate with our mates. He was originally going to be here as part of the February programming, but we had some severe out of control technical difficulties and couldn't quite do it. But I was very interested in what he had to say. And so I wanted to make sure that I had, we got together and had the time to talk to him. So let me bring on Phil DeLuca. Hey, Phil.
Hello, thank you for having me and persevering in my technical short-sightedness.
Oh, that's okay. The main thing is that you're here because I really wanted to hear your theory because it was just very intriguing to me. Like how we can communicate it better by, a
Yeah,
little bit.
the science is real clear. The latest mind-body science. Uh, if you want to communicate more effectively, you need to stop talking. That's like, wow, how do you communicate by not talking? But it's not talking when you are upset. That's
Oh, okay.
now, why is that so radically different? Because all conventional communication models, which were developed in the 60s, encourage communication when you're upset. If talk it through, or always deal with the problem now, or you're running from the problem. Get your anger out, stay in touch with it, talk it through. So what they do is they force us into conflict, more conflict. So these were developed in the 60s. It was the Woodstock era, the era of skinny dipping and streaking naked across the neighborhood, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Let it all hang out. And so that communication model comes from the let it all hang out era. So always be honest with your thoughts and feelings, no secrets. Get your anger out. Repressed anger kills. Never go to bed mad at each other, or you're running from the problem. Now that one actually does work because people don't go to bed mad at each other. They argue all night. Then they have text wars for the next 3 days. And then come Thursday, they have a truce out of sheer exhaustion, and then they go to sleep. So that one actually does work. So go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's funny because I have heard those, especially the one about never go to bed angry, and I'm like, please, I'm tired and I want to go to sleep. And sometimes when you get to rest, by the time that you wake up, you have a different perspective on things.
And
It's
that's
not
right.
quite as serious as it was before you got some rest, and you get that opportunity to get your mind right.
Well, most people don't believe that though. Most people will, they gotta deal with it right then and there. So you have what's usually a fighter or a flighter, an engager in a relationship. Someone who wants to fight, engage, move towards the other party, the adversary, and the other one who flees. And the fighters love being in touch with your feelings, getting it all out, never go to bed, meet each other. And if you try to leave, you go in the other room, they'll follow you. You lock the door, you close the door, they'll come in. You lock the door, they'll bang it through. You try to escape just to prevent an argument, and they'll block the door when you try to leave. You finally make it out, and they'll scream out, you go out that door, you'll be divorced like that 5-time low-life loser mother of yours.
Oh my
And they'll run after you in the car. You're running and they're driving the car away, and they're running behind it in the car. And
What is that all about though? I mean, why can't people just agree to a cooling off period where you both get a chance to kind of rein in your emotions and get back into your logic and reason? Because if this person's important to you, shouldn't that be a goal? I mean, you don't want to just be going off on the person and losing your mind. I mean, wouldn't that kind of destroy the relationship?
Well, that would make sense, but there's a little flaw in your reasoning here, and that is, so let's do a little science. We've got two parts of the brain we want to focus on real quickly. So front brain, cerebral cortex. People know it as their gray matter, thinking brain, abstract thought, higher learning, executive decision making, judgment calls, love, music, spirituality, relationship skills, and behind our ear we have our amygdala, our survival brain. It's just like the crocodiles out there. It's our reptilian brain. Dark, bleak, doom, gloom, catastrophic, worst case scenario. So if you ever seen somebody who was calm 1 minute and then they got upset, it's like an alien took over their body, and you're like,
Yes. We call it flashing.
yeah, oh, is that what it's called? Okay.
That's what it's called. They just flashed.
And then they laugh about something and they get calmer, and it's like the alien leaves and the person's back. That's actually the two parts of the brain in control of the person. So if you've ever been upset and heard yourself having this internal dialogue, now stay calm, you know, this is going to have real bad consequences. No, I don't want to stay calm. How dare they? I know you've never had that, but you know, most people have that. And
oh no, I that's why I'm laughing, because I've been there.
yeah, we all have. And that's the two parts of the brain actually talking to each other, and you're hearing the dialogue. And then as the stress keeps rising, see what we have in between those two brains is the hypothalamus, which switches blood from the front to the back brain and vice versa. So when the body perceives a threat, it starts switching blood from the front brain to the back brain. And up, and that's like 51, 49, stay in control, there's going to have bad consequences. Well, as the stress keeps rising, the hypothalamus keeps switching the blood flow, and then you go 51, 49 up to 75, 25. And that's called amygdala hijack, where it hijacks our brain, our body, and then our life and our relationships and love. People tell me when they get there, they'll say, I know when I get there, it's like words are coming out of my mouth, but I can't stop it. It's like I see a film of my life unfolding, but I can't do anything about it.
Oh, wow.
You ever been there?
No.
No, most of your audience is saying, yeah, oh yeah, I know all about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
I tend to be the kind, when I get angry, I get quiet. And I
Okay,
just start looking at you. And
you're
that's like that deadly, it's deadly, because
you
I'm plotting your demise.
yeah, you're giving the evil eye, right? The snake eye. That's what.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not saying nothing, but I'm looking at you like, you gonna die.
yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's a more stealth approach. That's all. That's like Mo would say in Three Stooges. That's getting angry with a college education.
There
That's
you
all.
go. What can I say? So tell me though, let's have some tips for people who do what you just said and just, going to flip out land. It can't be that good. I mean, these relationships tend to get on a track where that's their way of interacting. It seems very unhealthy to me, and it doesn't really resolve anything. And you just have two angry people.
Oh
What
yeah.
can people do to kind of get themselves off that track?
Well, before we get to that, there's huge consequences for getting in this mode and then engaging when you're in this conflict seeking mindset where you're just ripping the other person to shred and puking all of this nasty stuff out on the other party. Personal cost, guilt, shame, regret later. When the blood reroutes here, oh, I feel so bad. What did I say and do? And then you have relationship costs. Communication after this is worse than before. You don't like him as much now as much as you did before. And you don't like their company as much. How could I? I wanted to go to dinner with you 5 minutes before, but now you look at me like I was Satan incarnate. Why do I want to go to dinner with you?
Right.
And also there's health costs. We now know episodic anger outbursts increases heart attack and stroke risk 500% for 2 hours afterwards.
What?
Yes, and over time, 2,000%, and cancer risk 3,000%. Premature aging 9 to 17 years, autoimmune, diabetes risk shoots up, Alzheimer's risk goes up, hypertension, you name it. This thing is deadly on every level. Peace, relationships, health. It takes no prisoners. So my thing is the express yourself, talk it through approach is relationship suicide if people are using it. because it kills the relationship and the love I feel for you. And it's also like taking poison that's killing me. Really toxic stuff.
This is kind of shocking, Phil, because I mean, you think about, people have bad relationships, but what you're basically saying, ladies, I hope you're hearing this. What he's saying is that having a bad relationship can kill you. Okay. It
Oh,
will give you chronic diseases that will take you up out of here. So the better for you, if you have a man that you got to communicate like that, you may want to rethink that relationship because
well, we could
this
talk
sounds
about,
deadly.
oh yeah. And just look at it. When people do have one of these arguments, what happened afterwards? They can't sleep. They got a stomach ache. They got a headache, right? They're reaching for comfort foods, which are not good for them. So that's right. And they can't remember and their memory goes. I can't remember anything. I'm having so many problems with him or I can't remember anything. So it kills our front brain cells and starts us on the road to dementia. It's nasty. And so
Oh
think
my
about
goodness gracious.
the communication approaches in the 60s. There was never any science behind it. It just got accepted as, the movement at the time. Just let it all hang out, got absorbed into the culture. And now people just do it automatically thinking it's correct. Along comes the new mind body science that says, wait a minute, this goes against everything we know about how the mind and the body is wired and what it does in relationships and to your life and health. And that is very terminal to your life and relationships. It kills love. And if you want to kill love, then let this this crocodile brain hijack your thoughts, your mind, your mood, and it'll do its job very well. It's a survival brain. It's made to survive. And if we give it permission to take over us, it will rip you and the other party to shreds. That's what it's made for. It's made for, I'm about to be eaten by a bear, and just go at it full blown. The problem was all the person did was put the dish in the wrong tray on a dishwasher. And now we're nuking them,
Well, Phil, what do you think about people who brag about the fact that they never have an argument? The couple never, has any kind of disagreement. They never have an argument. They never fight. Is that really as healthy as they try to make it seem like? I mean, to me, it just seems kind of unrealistic.
Well, sometimes people get along so well that they actually agree on everything and they can get along with that. The problem rises for those couples who sweep everything under the rug and avoid issues. And we never argue type couples. Those are the deadly ones. You've got this elephants in the room that just keep fermenting and recycling and slowly kills the couple. And then they just announce one day they're getting divorced. And people.
Someone has a comment here for you. She says that she agrees with you. She says that I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis after a very bad fallout with a friend. I thought I was dying, she says.
Yeah, that's those stress hormones. That's very accurate. Good observation. Those stress hormones, they are lethal to the body. They take no prisoners. 70% of all doctor visits are stress related. Stress is inflammation in the body. You eliminate inflammation in the body, you've pretty much eliminated all diseases. So why are we keeping our body jacked up and inflamed? What's good about that? We're destroying our health, let alone our love. So you asked earlier what to do about it. Okay?
Yes, I'm very interested to know. How do we change that?
All right. So I came up with a 5-step program over. By the way, I have a free webinar to help. It's called Stop Your Fighting Tonight. So we can give it to your people. They can look at the science and they can stop their arguing immediately. Right.
Oh, good. And you give me the information. I can put it in the show description down below.
Yes. So I developed over 40 years and 40,000 couples a 5-step program that'll stop it. One, be aware. So arguments start two ways. I go into this combat mindset and provoke an argument, or you go in and pull me in. And then no matter what I do, it seems we're going to get into an argument anyway. So I got a 5-step program. One, be aware when there's a good time to talk and not. if I'm in this mindset, conflict-seeking brain, back here, it's a conflict-seeking brain, don't engage. Stop talking if you want to communicate effectively, because unless we're communicating from our front brain, we're not communicating effectively. We're fighting, we're arguing, we're destroying each other. So be aware of when it's a good time to talk to you because you're not in that mindset, or you are, and be aware of when I'm in a good place to talk. Now you need a pause switch. So step 2, put a pause switch in, get away from the situation if you can't stop yourself. Most people will vomit on the other party and then leave. Too late, the house is burned down. You lobbed a grenade. There's wounded body parts all over the place. Get away before you say anything. Let me ask you, Deborah, when you get upset, can you tell when you're getting upset? Is your heart pumping harder? Is your,
Yeah, I can feel my pulse accelerate. I start feeling, I can feel the blood flowing right here in my temples. Sometimes my breathing changes, and I get my body temperature elevates.
And that's because that brain, both of those brains are connected through the autonomic nervous system, 90% of our organs. So this fight or flight response, when you're getting upset, it jacks us up because we're getting ready for a fight or flee to the death. Because it's very bad at perceiving real from imagined threats. So better safe than sorry. So it always goes into full-blown mode.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we react the same way to somebody took in a parking spot we were waiting for, as if somebody we're about to be eaten by a bear. So you need a pause switch in there to evaluate whether this is a good time to be going, I'm about to be eaten by a bear or run over by a car, or, somebody just didn't wash the spoon the correct way. 2 different intensities. So you need a pause switch, get away, and before you say anything. Now, where can you go to get calmer? Another room? You got to let this brain calm down. You got to get the blood flow back here. You got to get more relaxed. Go to another part of the house. Now, step 3, how are you going to detox these chemicals? How are you going to get your blood flow from here to here? Calming music, comedy, getting focused on some intense hobby or interest. Do a gratitude journal. Write down some things you feel you appreciate about the other party. When I was sick, they took good care of me. They always, put me first, or whatever the case may be. That will force you, this part of the brain, to click back on. Do some yoga, relaxation. If you have a spiritual life, open the Bible, do some meditation, whatever it takes to get you back into this brain. It's really good too if you could drain off those chemicals by doing something physical. That's why you're getting all jacked up. The body is ready to get a fight or flee. It's no stopping there. It's fight, flee, run or fight. It's not sit and ferment. You go out to your car, you put your foot, turn it on, put your foot on the brake and the accelerator, push them all the way down and leave it there. See what happens. You're going to blow your car up. That's what we do when we get upset, and we just ferment and simmer and hold on to it. It just cooks our whole inside. Very toxic to the body.
Someone asked a question for you.
Yes.
How do you know when both people are calm and ready to deal with the conflict?
Well, one, with yourself, can you tell? So let's go. That's a good question. Let's go back. Step 3 is, remember, step 1 is be aware of when, you can always tell when the other party's upset, right? How can you tell when are you married or involved with somebody? Deborah?
Oh, me?
Yes.
Well, yeah, I'm just kind of dating around. I'm not really serious with anybody right now.
So in past relationships, could you tell when the other party was upset? And this is not, Houston, this is
Oh,
not.
yes.
They have a certain look, they're bringing up certain tone, they got a certain volume, certain attitude, body. That's not a good time to talk, because what that says is this brain is ready for combat, not for discussion. All right?
Yeah.
Stop talking. If you want to communicate, stop talking. Shut up. And don't ask them how you're feeling, what are you thinking, because they're just going to, when we're in that brain, have you noticed when somebody else upset, you're in front brain, they're twisting it around, distorting, twisting. Because when we're in this brain, this is not a conflict resolving brain. This is a conflict seeking brain. That's why we twist and distort and manipulate to provoke an argument. That's what it's made for. It's made for conflict. It's been activated and it's going to do its job very well. So the question is, when you see they're in that state, let it lie, calm down. When you're in that state, get away, calm down. Now, re-engage. When they look like they're calmer or they're talking like they're calm, then you can re-engage. When you're that way, then re-engage. Step 4, that's the time to communicate. Now, step 5 is, what do you do when the other party's trying to provoke an argument? And if you try to talk about it, we get into it. And if we don't talk about it, they keep poking and poking and poking until we get into it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So we seem to be into a no-win situation no matter what we do. You ever been in that place, Deborah? I know I have.
Yeah, it's like nothing you say is the right answer. Nothing
Yes.
you offer is the right solution. And so at certain point, you just give up and say, well, whatever. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. You get into this apathetic mode. And to me, when a woman reaches apathetic in a relationship, that's the death knell.
Yeah, it's all
That's
over.
it. It's over.
The death, I call that the death zone. There's no love left, so why bother?
Yeah. There's no love. There's no hate. There's no passion. There's no energy. There's no caring. There's no thought about you. It's just, she's just like looking at you. That's it. It's over.
Yeah. I saw a couple 20 years ago in which he was dragging in the woman who clearly didn't want to be there. And she said, why do I even want to be here? You always promise stuff and you never follow through. And he said, no, this is different, dear. I haven't had a woman in 6 months. I gave up drinking. And he went down this long list. And I said to myself, wow, I think he's got it this time. And she said, honey, I think he got it this time. And I'm happy for you, because in your next relationship, you'll make a much better husband. Dead zone.
Oh.
I said, there must be a place where people enter and they never come out, even if you change. There must be a dead place, a dead zone, that you go into that zone, it's all she wrote.
That's it.
So my goal with couples has always been, I want to prevent them from getting there, and the next argument may put them there. So I came up with this very instantaneous stop measure to block the arguments and the negativity that the next argument may even do, provoke. So I offer on my website a 5-part course on this, but I have a free webinar. Just go on my site, Go Beyond Talk Therapy. It'll pop right up there, 50-minute free webinar, and it'll show you how to stop your fight tonight instantly.
You guys hear that? GoBeyondTalk.com.
GoBeyondTalkTherapy.com.
Oh, GoBeyondTalkTherapy.com. Lady Boss, could you put that in the stream? GoBeyondTalkTherapy.com. Free 50-minute webinar.
Stop your
guys
fighting
to enjoy.
Tonight. Yes.
Stop your fighting tonight, he said.
I got about 100 and plus PowerPoints. I use different kind of masks. I use a lot of fun stuff. It's a really great thing. But the nice thing about it is I give that to clients when they come in and take a look at this. And I'm impressed with how quickly they go from blaming each other to seeing the big picture and being able to stop their part in it. Like immediately. It's impressive stuff.
What if you're in a situation where, I'm not saying you have to, go crazy, but if you have something that really is a problem in your relationship and you don't want to go into, but you do want to address it, how should someone approach that issue or getting a resolution? Is there a way to do that without triggering the other person to go back to the lizard brain?
The important thing is to maintain your self-control at all times. So if you start losing it where you feel like, I know when my stomach starts twitching in a certain way, my lizard brain's getting active, and I better watch it, because when it crosses a certain line and that hijack occurs, I'm not interested in fixing the problem. I'm interested in getting the other party. So it's important to monitor that in yourself and the other party, when you notice that they're twisting and distorting and this is an act of futility, disengage. And then when you calm down, then approach it again and keep hitting it that way. If you can get the other party to look at this video, I've had really good success with people saying, I don't got the problem, you get the problem. And they've looked at this video together or separate, and they've come back and said, well, maybe I am part of this problem and maybe I need to work on this. And now you've got two people working on it. That's great, because that's pretty rare. Most situations, you only have one willing to work on it.
Exactly. The other one's saying it's your fault. It's
Yeah,
your fault. You did it.
I'll help you get better. Tell me whatever I can do to help you get better, because you got a problem, buddy.
Yeah, this is, I don't know. I don't understand what the problem is with people sometimes. But when you have a situation where a couple is not really communicating, because sometimes people go to the opposite extreme. They don't really want to talk too much at all because they're afraid of a fight. But there has to be things that are conflicts between any couple. I mean, they're two completely different people, and there's going to be some kind of conflict that comes up. What kind of techniques do you have for people to deal with their conflicts in a healthy, sane way?
Well, basically, I encourage people to maintain self-control. People get into blaming the other party. They do what's called reciprocal or conditional change. If you did this, so I won't do that. If you do this, I won't do that. That's not going to work. You got to stay in control of yourself, and front brain always calm, rational, or at least not out of control, attacking. That's the best way to solve it, I find, is you got to teach people a whole new lens. And usually the way they're looking at the situation, I'm entitled to this view. They get angry and they just spew it out on each other. That's a really bad place to be. Once we're angry, we're in that conflict-seeking mind. We're not going to resolve very much because we're into a conflict-seeking position. And that's what happens. We argue. So before I tuned in here, I was talking to a couple, and they described how it was about the fourth or fifth time they were, I'd seen them, and they were talking about how we got into this big argument. We have these the wife said, we have these common issues, and one of this common issue that keeps recycling is this. And then they described what happened. And the way they described it was she was blaming him and he was blaming her. And I said, okay, so here's the problem. What I want to hear is how you looked at this and said, this is the place that I went too far and I should have cut off and disengaged prior to this point. And you should have said the same thing. But instead of looking at yourself and focusing on yourself, you blamed her, she blamed you. You were both made the change conditional. Well, I did this because you said this. Well, you said this, that's why I said this. I said, that don't work. And then when we got done with their discussion, they said, each one said, well, looking back now, when this happened, I could have done this, and that would have prevented everything that followed. And then he said, if I had done this or not said this, then the whole thing would have not got to the place where we just had 3 days of just nastiness. You see what I'm saying is focusing on what you can do differently to control yourself and stop that negative snowball rolling down the hill instead of blaming the other party. It comes down to self-control. It used to be called self-mastery.
I don't know if people just seem to have given that up.
That's a dirty word now, self-mastery. What do you mean? I got to be in touch with my feelings at all time. I got to puke it on everybody and everything. I want to feel true to my real self. Yeah, well, that's really nice, but there's a lot of casualties to that, like love.
We have a question here from you from Faith. If a person is not trying to resolve disagreements later, are they also in lizard brain trying to protect themselves?
That question is, are they like avoiding? Does that mean like they're avoiding dealing
That's
with.
what it sounds like. They're not trying to resolve the disagreement later. Are
Yeah.
they also in lizard brain, but they're trying to protect themselves? That's
It
what it
could
sounds
be.
like.
Yeah. So that's a real common issue. You frequently have a fighter or a flighter. Not always, but in general, the woman tends to be the fighter and the man is like the flighter. I'm out of here. What problem? What are you talking about? And the woman's like, what do you mean? What am I talking about? I've been telling you this for 20 years and you still don't get it? What are you, stupid or an idiot? And so the fighters will engage. You know, they'll move towards the other party. The fighters, they're like, I can't handle this, and I'm out of here.
Mm-hmm.
So because they're like talking to the other party is too intense, and I know it's not going to solve anything. Plus, they'll say things like, I don't like conflict. I have a big problem with conflict. So when I talk to the fighters, and I'll say you have to get back to the problem. You can't just sweep it under the rug and pretend it's all gone. That's just going to cause the fighter to get more intense because they'll say,
Exactly.
I got to get an answer from them because they'll never get back to it. So they just chase and pursue and pound away verbally, which sends the other party fleeing, which causes them to pursue even more. And now they're caught in this like hamster wheel kind of thing. So I tell the fighters when they're out of control, say, I'm going to get back to this. We'll do it after dinner tonight or tomorrow morning, whatever the case be. But I promise I will get back to this. It's really important that you tell that other party that this is a good time to chill. However, I will get back to this, and you better get back to it. I have this conversation with a lot of men. You can't keep sweeping this under the rug. You
Yeah, it's
know?
like they don't want to deal with it. And that just infuriates the woman
Oh
because
yeah,
not only does she feel ignored, she feels like the issues that she's presenting
they
aren't
never get
important,
resolved.
which
Yeah,
hurt her feelings. And I mean, it's just all bad. It's
yeah.
all bad.
I tell the guys all the time, I said, listen, you want to get divorced or break up this relationship, then just keep sweeping it under the rug. Just go right to the divorce attorney now. Save yourself a lot of work because that's what's going to happen.
We
So,
got
but
another question for you from
okay.
Sue. She says, does Phil believe that lack of respect also plays into these couple fights? It seems to me that couples with huge mutual respect levels fight less.
Oh yeah, respect. That's a really good point. I'm glad that was brought up. There's a difference between men and women. At least I've noticed. Men want to be respected. Women want to be liked and everybody to get along in general. So men would rather be disliked but respected, and women would rather be liked than respected in general, a lot of times. And women don't understand that. A lot of times they do a lot of disrespectful things to men. And the man, you hear the man, that's disrespectful. And so, like, here's a classic. You have a step family situation. The the mother and her child, they go at it, and the child is real mean to the mother and says horrible things. For the man, that makes him nuts. And they're like, hey, you can't disrespect your mother like that. That's horrible. And don't let her disrespect you like that. And then so he intervenes, and then she gets mad because you're getting on my daughter or son. And so you get out, and now the thing is one big chaotic thing. Men want to be respected, and women, they really haven't gotten that message. Women want men to be touchy-feely, and that's good. But they haven't gotten the other side of that is that men want to be respected. And you start disrespecting a man, you're going to have some mega problems. So if I can get that message across to any women listening, please pay attention to that. We want to be respected. And the biggest complaint you hear from men is, I'm not respected.
Well,
So,
that's a show all in itself, Phil. That's a show all in itself. Someone, Susie, followed that up by saying, I've noticed that couples who spat all the time don't even really like each other, let alone love each other.
well,
Wow.
sometimes those couples, sometimes what they'll say is all we have good in our life is make up sex, because that's true. All they have is sex. Everything else, they fight all the time. But a lot of couples who fight all the time, they really don't like doing that. It may seem like they like it, but they lose respect for themselves. They lose respect for their partner. They feel despair. No matter what we try, nothing works. Usually couples that fight all the time, they try a lot of things and nothing works. So they lose respect for themselves. They die inside, really. They,
Yeah.
they get bitter, resentful. They have a lot of health problems, usually because of all the stress that's caused by the chronic arguing. And a lot of those situations don't have to be that way. Here's the real interesting thing. Conventional approaches doom a lot of relationships that don't have to be doomed, that can be fixed, and very quickly. So that's why I would encourage your viewers to go onto my site and look at that free webinar, because a lot of I see couples coming in all the time. They've been to 3 or 4 therapists. They hadn't gotten anywhere. Things have gotten worse. And within weeks, we can get them on a positive track and even fix it, believe it or not. The communication models out there they're 60 years dated. They don't work. So people that's all that's used out there by professionals. You go on the books put it out there by it.
Yeah, that's what we hear. We read all the time.
You go on the website. I Googled the other a while ago, good communication skills. There was 10 pages at least, on 10 items on each page, links of good communication skills. They all said the same thing. Tell them how you feel. Get in touch with it. Stay calm when the other party, when you're upset. Make eye contact. You can't do all these things when this brain takes over. You're giving people stuff that's causing them to fail. They try it. It fails. They then internalize it. There must be something wrong with us. Every time we do these things, we follow the experts' advice. We get on the internet. They say, do this. We do this and we fail. There must be something wrong with us, when actually it's the system that's failing them.
You have another question.
Okay.
She's asked, when do you stop always trying to be the bigger person?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. That's how you define a bigger person. I assume it's somebody giving in more times than not.
Yep, and trying to feel all altruistic about it. Well, I'm going to be the bigger person. I'm just going to, take it. I'm not going to make a fuss about it. I'm just going to, just move on from this. And I guess that is an issue with a lot of women, because they feel like, I don't know, it's hard to put into words, but they feel like for the sake of the relationship, they have to bite their tongue and just let a lot of things that are really bothering them and really hurting them, that may even be, somewhat abusive, just slide by, just to keep the peace. And they call it being the bigger person.
Yes. While we're on this, one of the things I've noticed is there's a lot of this. They have what's called survival brain hijack lock, where the survival brain stays on all the time. You've seen them; they're very toxic people.
Mm-hmm.
They constant negative stuff. They complain. They only have 2 speeds: defense and attack. They always read negative intention into the other party. They have all of these negative things. They hold on for years. There's a lot of women that are middle-aged that hold on to this stuff. It's their right to hold on to resentments. But we now know that it's called epigenetics. The cells in our body are listening to the thoughts in our brain, and they're switching on or off pro or anti-inflammatory genes. So each cell can turn on or off up to 28 genes. Okay. Some are pro-inflammatory and release stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline and the ilk. And others are anti-inflammatory and release endorphins, serotonin, oxytocin, and some of these others. Now, how does your cells know what to release? How does your kidney know that you're on a beach, not in an office or in an argument with your spouse? Well, every cell in our body is listening to the thoughts in our brain. And so if our brain is locked into this negative mindset, every cell in our body is saying, hey, I'm in constant conflict and stress. So it's keeping switched on the pro-inflammatory genes and releasing these really toxic chemicals. So when people hold on to stuff, we now know that they're basically taking a poison every day to punish the other party, because they're poisoning their own bodies to punish the other party. So there's a huge number of people that never forget or forgive. They'll hold on to stuff from their childhood. The parent's been dead for
Yes.
20 years. They're still holding on to it.
I dated a guy like that. Oh my God. He would talk about stuff that happened 20 years ago and get mad about it all over again. He drove me crazy. I had to leave him alone.
That's highly toxic. So what they're doing is they're keeping switched on. They're keeping their body in an inflamed state, and they're causing enormous disease in their body, shortening their life, premature aging, 9 to 17 years. They're setting themselves down the road to Alzheimer's, high blood pressure, autoimmune disease. So, I was talking to a lady recently where I said, well, when you have a disagreement or an argument with your husband, how long do you hold on to this? And she said, like it was a badge of honor, forever. That's a really common response. And I said, so what you're doing is to punish your partner every day. You're taking a swig of cyanide. So take that. That's what's really happening. So there's a lot of benefit from forgiving and letting go. A lot of benefit to your own
At
self.
what point do you figure out, like, if a relationship has become, like there's no resolution? I mean, when should a woman just let it go? Just, be like a Vegas card dealer, bam, 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 out. Is
Well,
there, when does that realization be something that someone should really consider?
Well, one of the things I noticed, there's been a change. There's a lot of bad advice people are getting from their friends, male and female. The men from theirs. The advice they usually get from men when you start talking about your problems is, hey, there's plenty of fish in the sea. Get rid of her. You can have another woman tonight. That's a really winning combination. Advice. Yeah, that's a winner. And then the women are getting the same thing. They're saying, hey, dump him, fry his ass, get rid of him. So, but there's a lot of reasons. I mean, what if you still love him? What about if you have the kids? What if you made a vow and you have a commitment? What if how are you going to take care of yourself? And without that other income, you're getting older. What happens if you get sick? Who's going to date you? A lot of people are getting too old to find someone else, 50s, 60s. A lot of people are like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find somebody if I don't, he or she's not that good, but they're better than what's out there. I mean, I hear that a lot, man. What's out there is not very good. So there's a lot of,
I can testify.
There's a lot of things to consider. And it's a really tough call to say when you should leave or not. You have young kids involved. That's a really tough one. So let's say the other party is an alcoholic. Well, if you leave, or abusive, or is really bad with the kids, if you leave and they get visitation every other weekend, the kids are at their mercy.
Right.
Then what? I mean, that'll keep you up at night, right?
So yeah, that's a good point, because then you're not there to run interference and see what's going on and protect them. You're not there.
You don't even know what's going on. That's a really scary place. So a lot of people will say, this is a bad situation, but for the sake of my kids and their danger to them, mentally, emotionally, and physically, I got to make the best of this I can. And how do you argue against that? No,
those are excellent points, and I'm in full agreement with you. So I think that's why a lot of women just decide to stay with men, until the children are of age and go off to college or whatever. Then they get the divorce.
Yes. Yeah. So a lot of people are getting bad advice from friends, both male, the women and men, who are just saying, dump them. Just dump them and move on to bigger fish in the pond. And it's really doing a job on people's heads because it doesn't fit where they're at a lot of times. Well, I'll be destitute financially. I can't survive. Just dump them. Yeah, live under the bridge. That's good advice. Yeah, you really are a good friend.
Oh, well,
What about
Phil, this has been great. I want you have an opportunity to tell people again where they can find out more information about you, and your webinar and everything. Just, repeat it so that it's on the video again.
All right, go beyond www.gobeyondtalktherapy.com. And as soon as you click on it, it'll have a little thing that pops up. It'll say sign up for your free webinar and sign up, and it'll show up in your email. And you can take a look at it. If any of them have any questions, email me or anything. And if you want to take my course, which is only $169, it's 4 or 5 hours of walking people through the whole process, worksheets, all the different issues, how to deal with somebody who is trying to provoke an argument, and regardless of what you try to do to stop it, they're still going to provoke an argument. I'm the only one that I know of that has come up with a solution around that. So this is a really valuable thing to keep people together that can be together and don't have to break up.
And that would be nice because, especially when children are involved, I think, parents should do everything they can to keep the peace and make the kids feel stable and secure with both of their parents there.
Well, even, people are invested in relationships. And when you break up, it's horrible. They feel like failures. They turn to alcohol and booze. They have promiscuous sex that ends up getting into a relationship where they get used again. It's really, breakups can be horrendous situations. Sometimes they're good because it was a toxic situation,
right?
In a way, and I feel much better. I'm not being trashed all the time. I'm not being made feel like I'm a failure or a loser. But a lot of times, especially if you love the party and you can't work it out, those are really, really painful. I feel for those very much. So
Aww.
This is a way to prevent it. That's why I developed this approach for those couples where we can prevent the arguments that's pulling them apart, and they can grow in their love and not still love them and have to go your separate ways. What a waste.
Well, Phil, it was great. I'm glad that we were finally able to get you on here so that we could hear what you had to say, because it's very valuable information. You're getting a lot of kudos from the ladies in the chat room. Very happy to have heard what you have to say. And I do think you'll have some people listening to your webinar. They seem to be very enthusiastic about listening to it and learning what you have to say. So I just want to thank you again for, coming in to participate on my channel.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. You're a beautiful woman.
Well, thank you.
Not only are you nice to look at, if I can say that, but you got a beautiful smile. Thank you for sharing that. That comes right from your heart.
It does. Everything I do here comes from my heart for all these ladies and, all the programming and everything. It's just my way of trying to make the world a better place. And
yeah,
you played a part in that. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I'll talk to you soon, Phil. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, you guys, that was Phil DeLuca. I'm so glad we were able to finally get him on here, because I thought, what he had to do, what he's been doing, for all these years he's been in business, working as a therapist. He's seen countless, as he said, like 40,000 people, 40,000 couples he's helped in all the years that he's been working as a therapist. He has way more experience at it than I do. So it's like, I thought that his approach was unique, and that he would have something very valuable to say to give us, an idea about how to think about things a little bit differently. So that's why I wanted him to come. Yeah, I thought he was pretty amazing too. I'm glad that worked out finally. But I also want to remind you that, our 4th live stream in a row, I've been doing live streams like crazy lately, but we're going to have, no, he's not. He's a married man. He's not into that. But, we have like this professional respect. And that's what I have with, a lot of people who come on. to the show that I meet like out at, networking events and stuff. But tomorrow we're going to jump into our fun routine and talk about some DNN things that you guys have sent in. That should be fun. Shut up, Robin. Yeah, I'll smile at you and be like, while I'm grinning in your face. You're so funny. But, tomorrow night is the DNN, so come on through. Be prepared to share some laughs and, scratch your head and be amazed like I am at the stupidity that people post online. It's like, oh my God, what were you thinking? Why would you do that? And have your name and your face right there with it, your real name. What are you doing? So that's what we're going to be doing tomorrow night, as usual. It's a tradition we started some time ago. I thought it was just going to be last summer, but it's carried on. And we're about to head into, a whole year of doing the DNN. So you guys, I'm glad that you made it. We will be back tomorrow night. So I hope to see you then at 6:00 p.m. Pacific time. That's 9 if you're on the east side. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.